What to do when somebody cheats on you. Have you been hurt? Have you been betrayed? Let's break it down and talk about the first steps, the things that you can do to start to heal from betrayal. When you've been betrayed, you can experience a flood of emotions. Your world turns upside down. And in that emotional state of mind, you're going to want to do something to feel safe. It's normal to want to do something to feel safe. The problem is when you have all of those emotions come up, you may act in ways that actually cause harm to yourself and cause harm to the relationship. So pump the brakes a little bit, listen to this video, and I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process of what you need to do when you have been cheated on. I hear all kinds of stories of how partners respond when they've been cheated on. Believe it or not, things like having more sex happens, or trying to be nicer, or throwing things at your partner, or all kinds of different reactions and responses. Now you think about it, why does somebody have more sex with their partner after they've been cheated on? The reason is because they're not feeling safe in the relationship. So they're trying to pull their partner close to them so that they don't leave them. And so they try to have sex in order to pull their partner close. That sex is done from a place of fear. It's not done from a place of connection. It's not healthy sex. But that's a natural reaction when you've been cheated on. Another reaction that's common is hovering over your partner, paying attention to everything that they're doing. I was talking to a woman just a couple weeks ago, and her husband had cheated on her. She found out a week before. Well, he wanted to go on a long Sunday drive. What do you think happened? She had a really hard time with him leaving by himself for hours at a time. Now, there's a problem here. The problem is this, is he needs to be honest with her about whether he wants to go on a Sunday drive or not. It's not good for her to control him to not go on that Sunday drive. But it's also not good for him to not care about how she feels because trust has been broken. And so he needs to be empathetic to her, and she needs to be honest with him about what that trigger's like for her. But what's not helpful is her forcing him to be a certain way. I'm not saying this to protect him. I'm saying this for her recovery. The reason is she doesn't want to regain trust in her ability to control him. She wants to regain trust in him. So he needs to proactively work on himself, on his own recovery, so he's not a man who cheats. Not her hovering over him, trying to force him to love her and force him to be faithful to her. Another common reaction to getting cheated on is internalizing it. What that is when you think, there must be something wrong with me. The reason why I got cheated on is because I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not sexy enough, I'm not connected enough. There's something wrong with me. And where that usually goes is you start to either shut down because you feel so much shame and you feel like you're not enough, or you overcompensate. You try to become more because you feel like you're not okay and not enough. I know that it feels like it is about you. I know that it feels that way, and it's normal to feel that way. But if you are feeling those things, I do want to say that your partner cheating on you is not because you're not enough. It's not about you. And so try hard to fight against those narratives and that shame that says that you're not okay because your partner cheated. If you relate to some of these ways of responding to getting cheated on, then I'd ask you to practice some courage and comment below, because it's helpful to other women to see that they're not alone, or other men to see that they're not alone in reacting this way to getting cheated on. So please share any crazy things or any things that you've done when you found out that you were cheated on that weren't helpful. Now I'm going to give you a step-by-step process that I would use if I were cheated on. These are the things that I would do in order to start my healing process. The first thing I would do is to stop and take a deep breath. Now, I mean that both figuratively and literally. When you find something out traumatic, just ground yourself. Take a deep breath. Take a moment to get your bearings before you just react and respond. So taking that deep breath, what I mean by that, you might go for a long drive. You might take it a couple days at a hotel room, or just get away for a little bit so that you can process some things and just get grounded before you react. The very next thing I would do as I'm taking that break is I would get help and I would get support and I would get education. There's a lot of good education out there about betrayal trauma, and how you can heal from that. In fact, one of the best ways to get educated is to listen to my podcast, The Betrayed, The Addicted, and The Expert. And we talk about everything betrayal. We talk about emotional affairs, actual affairs, how to rebuild trust, healthy sex, good relationships. The point being is you can get educated and you can understand what are the next steps in your recovery process. The next thing that I would do is to actually reach out. Now, this can feel opposite of what you want to do. You might feel a lot of shame about what's happened to you. It might be embarrassing that you've been cheated on. But I want you to reach out and get support. Join a group. Talk to a friend. Open up to a therapist. Have other people come in and support you and help you. You're hurting right now. You've been traumatized by getting cheated on. It's okay to rely on others and to let them love you in this moment while you're hurting. The next thing I would do is I would start to process the emotions that you're feeling. And this is a process. This doesn't happen overnight. But engage in a process where you are able to work through the pain. When you've been cheated on, you have to grieve. The life that you thought you had is very different than the life that you do have. And that grieving process can be painful. But as you process through that grief, you're going to start to feel more relief. You're going to start to feel some peace. You're going to get yourself to a place of forgiveness. So talk it out with people. Journal. Read good books. Pray. Listen to music. Allow yourself to move that energy through you. Cry as much as you possibly can cry so that you can start to work through those emotions. Lastly, I'd work with a therapist on understanding healthy boundaries. What is in your control? What's not in your control? How can you show up empowered and authentic in your relationship and not get hurt again because you now have healthy boundaries? And not show up weak, not show up codependent, not show up as a person who can get hurt again. So work on those healthy boundaries so you can be empowered in that relationship and make sure that you're not going to allow this anymore to happen, to get cheated on anymore in your relationship. If you've been cheated on, then I want you to understand a couple of things. One, you're not alone. There may be nothing more painful than getting cheated on, and you're not alone. A lot of people have been through that, and I know that doesn't ease the pain. But another thing that I want you to understand is that you've experienced betrayal trauma. You've been traumatized by getting cheated on. It hurts that deep that it's traumatic. But I want you to understand that you can heal from betrayal trauma, that you don't have to feel stuck in fear and stuck in this pain forever, that you can move beyond it, that you can get better. There is hope. You may not stay married, you may stay married, but there is hope for your healing. And you can move forward, and you can actually become a stronger person because this has happened to you. Thanks for watching, you guys. If this video was important to you, then another video that you need to watch of mine that will help you is how to control your emotions in a relationship. It will help you be effective as you navigate your relationship after betrayal.